kid in America, and even every grown-up, to some degree, is fascinated by castles. And I'm no different than anybody else. I'm an Italian American. I've been going to Italy and to Europe since 1965. I've probably been in Italy 40, 50 times. In 1989, I moved to Rome for 6.5 months. And I spent much of that time in the countryside of Lazio, Umbria, and Tuscany, looking at the old castles and palaces and farmhouses. I ended up buying a castle right outside of Florence. It was owned by the cousin to the King of Italy. It's called Castello di Amorosa. I wanted to start another winery making primarily Italian-style wines. And I wanted to incorporate the medieval Tuscan architecture, Umbrian architecture, to complement the wine. So I had something really great, a great showcase, a great surrounding in which to attempt to make great wines. Additionally, I wanted to honor my heritage. I wanted to honor my relatives who came over here and worked so hard and made something out of themselves. And I had this passion for castles. So I already have a winery called Visatui Winery. It was founded by my great-grandfather in 1885, San Francisco. He was one of California's pioneer winemakers. And it went out of business in Prohibition. They were forced out in 1921. Ever since I was a kid, I wanted to bring it back, revive the family history, the name, and that's all I ever wanted to do. And in 1975, after coming back, living in Europe again, I refounded it. You know, it's easy to say. I did it with no money and a lot of hard work and no knowledge either. Visatui Winery has been very successful, really good wines, and the success of that built this. I had an architect, a local architect who wanted to design it. I found that out real fast, and I fired him. And I said, and so I got another architect. I said, I'll hire you, but you have to do everything I tell you to do. Every line, everything. And I found a firm, and they're great architects, but I wanted to design this castle. And they agreed to do that, and they did. All the look, every niche, every door, every arch, everything, every room, every space, the exterior, it's all mine. We did this like they would have done in the Middle Ages. We carved and chiseled all the stone by hand. Everything's made by hand. The bricks are all old. You can't fake it. You either do it right, or you don't, or it's going to be fake, and everybody's going to know it's fake. And I think to a great degree we pulled this off. In fact, I think it's better than what I thought it was going to be. And maybe I'm not being modest, but that's my honest opinion. The project took over 30 years, and it took 13 years to get the permit. I didn't buy it initially to do a winery. I'd always looked for my dream property. I'd looked for that for years. But the property has 171 acres. It has a stream, it has a lake, it has forest. Everything I'd always dreamed about, so I was real fortunate to get it. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be nice to have a little winery in the Italian style, medieval architecture? So I thought about putting up an 8,500 square foot building. Well, the 8,500 square feet over 15 years of construction morphed into 121,000 square feet. That's about 3 acres of rooms. It's on 8 levels, 4 of those levels underground, one below another, below another, below another. 107 rooms, but they're all different. There's no 2 rooms alike. You go throughout the castle, you won't find any 2 rooms alike. To build this castle winery, we shipped nearly 200 containers of materials. All the stone is local from 2 quarries in the Napa Valley. One's a hard basalt stone. The other stone is a soft sandstone. We even carved gargoyles out of it. And we did everything by hand here. So we used over 8,000 tons of stone in the building. We kept track. And in any event, about 95% of the bricks in the building come out of Austria, made by the royal brickmaker, the Habsburg, when they tore down old palaces. To make this castle authentic, and it is authentic, it's not something faux, it's not something fake or halfway done. We used either very old materials or we did it the way it would have been done. We didn't use any cement in the grout because they had no cement then. We used sand, lime, and water. That's what we used for grout because that's the way it was done. We found craftsmen actually in 8 different countries from around the world. We used materials from 5 different countries. Americans didn't know how to do this. They're not used to anything like this. So I had to find the right guy to do this. About 22 years ago, I received a brochure in the mail from a group of people in Austria that were making small wine cellars for people using the old materials. I was fascinated with brochure, but I had no property, I had no money, so I filed it. I didn't want to throw it away. 5 years later, 7 years later, I was going to Austria. I think I finally bought this property, 1993. I took the brochure with me because I knew I was going to Austria. I found this fella in a little village about 80 miles southwest of Vienna. I go up to his doorstep holding the brochure. He comes out to me speaking German. He sees the brochure, he doubles up laughing, almost falls on the floor. And then when he got up, he said in broken English, "Do you know, I sent 2,000 of those brochures out about 7 years ago. I got no replies and 5 came back, wrong address. And here you are out in the snow this winter on my doorstep with this brochure." And he said, "Come on in." And so then we talked for several days. I told him I wanted to build a castle. He thought I was absolutely nuts. And he says, "A wine cellar I can understand, but a castle." And but he agreed. And essentially he came with 6 Austrians. They lived in my house for 3 months and they built 2 rooms out of the 107. And we watched them do it, and that's how we learned how to do it. He was a master builder in Austria, and he'd build houses, nice houses. But his real passion was castles. So he'd study them, and he learned the techniques of and reading about them, he learned how to do them. And so he was able to transfer his knowledge to me, and that's where we were able to build the rest of the castle. I found in Umbria, in Assisi, a fellow who was the last remaining blacksmith, does everything over the open forge. He made every light, every chain link, everything by hand over the open fire. He made the gates, he made everything out of metal here. And in conjunction with a carpenter that was a real skilled carpenter, they made every door, and there's basically no 2 doors alike. You know, in the old days, everything was done one piece at a time, and everything had its own personality, its own character. Nothing was modular, nothing was mass-produced or on a production line, and that's how we tried to do this. So the doors are all the things I saw in my travels throughout Tuscany and Umbria over a period of year. All the great doors we've tried to incorporate. But a lot of the people who contributed this saw something exceptional going on, and I think that's why it turned out so great. We're trying to bring a slice of Italy. We're trying to bring it back in time. You come off Highway 29, you make the turn onto our property, and you're in Italy 500-600 years ago. That's what we're trying to do with great Italian-style wines, with food, with Italian-style hospitality and warmth. It's another world, and every room opens into another adventure. This is the absolute ideal venue for great events. We had our first party last Saturday night. It was a medieval banquet. Turned out we sold it out in 10 days. We did it in the Great Hall and throughout the winery. Virtually everybody came dressed in medieval garb. You ate with your hands, you drank the soup out of a bowl. It was like 500 years ago. So we're going to do these types of parties where you go back in time and celebrate medieval life, and people love getting dressed up. So we're going to have our Midsummer Night party out in the courtyard, and we're looking forward to that. If I can give pleasure to other people in the form of great wines, in the form of a beautiful castle that they can enjoy, and if I can convert these people that come once into lifelong customers and lifelong friends and make them feel part of it, then I've done something great, especially if not only do they feel part, but they go out and spread the word for us. You can't buy that, and it makes me feel really good. And Castello di Amorosa in Italian means castle of love. And I think it's appropriate because I put a lot of love into it and thousands of hours. And when we started the project, I didn't have a name. That was 15 years ago, so we called the project Villa Amorosa. I was going to name it something else, but then after years and years, everybody knew it as Amorosa, so I couldn't change the name. And so when I came to name it, I finally gave up. We'll call it Castello di Amorosa. I tend to talk a lot about the architecture of the castle because I'm so passionate about it, but I'm also really passionate about the wines. And we're trying to make wines more in the Italian style, food-friendly wines. Wines that go well with food, that bring out the flavors of food. In turn, the food brings out the nuances and the flavors of the wine. To me, wine is all about the subtleties. It's more about elegance. It's more about balance. It's more about things that bring out the flavor of food and complement food. And most of what we make are Italian varieties. We make Sangiovese, for instance. We make a Super Tuscan, which is really a Sangiovese with Cabernet and Merlot. And we make Pinot Bianco, a Northern Italian style wine. We make Pinot Grigio, another Northern Italian style wine. We make a Moscato, also from the north, nice dessert wine. So we're making it primarily Italian style wines with some French varieties as well. We make Chardonnay, Merlot, and Cabernet as well because they're very important varieties here and the consumers appreciate them very much. We're very small. We have 48 acres of vineyards, mostly around the castle here where we have 30 acres. Upper Napa Valley, especially the area we're in called the Diamond Mountain Appellation, is a great area for making red wines. I mean, world renowned. So here on the property, we grow Cabernet, Merlot, and Sangiovese in 3 separate vineyards, but surrounding the winery or castle. We also have another vineyard in Anderson Valley, which is lesser known, but a great area for early ripening grapes, for making white wines such as our Pinot Grigio. We make Gewürztraminer there. We also grow some other grapes. So we sell everything we make direct to the consumer, no stores, no restaurants, no distribution anywhere. And we do it virtually without advertising. I'm real proud of it, just word of mouth. And so if we do a great job, people respond, and I'm proud of that. We have a winemaker now, Brooks Painter, who's great. He's worked at some of the great wineries in the Napa Valley, and he brings knowledge, education, and experience that I couldn't touch. And he's making great wines for us, and I'm really proud of what he's doing. I get involved in the final blends. I taste the initial wine. I get involved, and if I don't approve a blend, we don't do it. So I have the final say, but in fact, I'm very involved. But Brooks, on a day-by-day basis, is making the wines and doing a great job doing it.
Well, first and foremost, my focus is on winemaking. So when we have visitors come here, I want to allow them to have an experience where they can become educated about the wines that we make, become educated about the Napa Valley and Castello di Amorosa. What's truly unique about this particular winery is, of course, the site and the construction. To be able to visit an authentic medieval castle, Tuscan castle in Northern California, there's absolutely nothing like it, and it makes it a really, really special experience for all of our visitors. At Castello di Amorosa, our goals are to achieve wines that represent the true nature of the vineyards that we're sourcing. We farm many acres ourselves, so those are our estate vineyards, and then we also target specific growers that have established a track record for high quality fruit. We make many different types of wines. Our white wines range from a soft fruity white such as a Gewürztraminer to a dry white wine like Pinot Bianco, Pinot Grigio, Chardonnay. We also make a lovely dessert wine which is a muscat based wine. One of our most exciting wines is La Castellana, which is a Super Tuscan blend. And it's fun for me as a winemaker because it's a really creative process to pull the several different lots together and put together a wine that is quite different stylistically from most Napa Valley wines and truly represent some of the best wines from Tuscany. We also have our own particular style in the winemaking. We use specific techniques such as open top fermenters for the reds, which allows us to extract more gently the tannins and the phenolics, the color pigments from the grapes. We barrel ferment our Chardonnay, 100% barrel ferment, aged on the lees. We make a very crisp Pinot Grigio in the Italian style. So it is, if I was to sum it up, Castello di Amorosa makes Napa Valley wines with a focus on the sensibilities about Italian wines. When you are constructing a winery, you want to take advantage of gravity whenever possible. Castello di Amorosa is built into a hillside, so we have multiple levels where we can use, without the aid of pumps, we can move the wine via gravity in many cases. So for example, if we're starting up at the top with our fermentation area, the barrels are located down below. Many times the wine itself just flows very gently by gravity without the use of pumps. The advantage of using gravity versus pumps is that it's more gentler processing of the wine. So you're not having physical forces, for example, shear forces that a pump might generate on the wine. So it's considered to be the highest quality processing available for really elegant, beautiful wines.
Regarding our wines at Castello di Amorosa, we have nothing if we don't have quality. We certainly don't make much wine. We have no economies of scale. We virtually don't advertise. So if we don't get word of mouth, people talking well of our wines, we're dead in the water. I know that we could buy good vineyards on the valley floor here in the Napa Valley, and we could make good wines. But it's really difficult to make great wines on the valley floor. You need real low producing vines, and what you need are hillsides. You go to Europe, you almost never see a vineyard on the valley floor. What do they grow in the valley? Corn, apples, all kinds of things, but not grapes. They're all on the hillsides. Because Europeans have learned over centuries that the great quality vineyards are on the hillside. They're the low producing vineyards, but they're the great ones. We have 4 underground cellars here at Castello di Amorosa. In fact, 2/3 of the castle is underground. About 90 to 95 rooms of the 107 we have are all for winemaking. Is this all for fantasy, the underground cellars? Absolutely not. Underground cellars are the absolute ideal environment for aging wine. In our cellars, our temperature does not vary more than 2 degrees all year. It can be 105 outside, it can be 38 outside. It remains about 58, 59 degrees all year long, with high humidity in the air. You can't feel it so much now in the winter, but in the summer you really feel humidity. So it keeps our barrel staves swollen, get virtually no leaks. We have very little evaporation, so it's not harmful to the wine. Castello di Amorosa spent a lot of money to have all open top fermenters. We're going back in time to how my great-grandfather did it. And the way we do it is the old punch down method to extract color and flavor. We have a semi-hydraulic, so there's a little technology, pole with a plate about 18 inches diameter. And then some guy goes up there, starts early in the morning, and he gently submerges the cap below the juice. And in that way, we can extract our color and flavor without extracting the bitter components that other wineries do. That's the kind of quality commitment Castello di Amorosa is making. We do things 3 ways here at Castello di Amorosa. People can come, just drive up without a reservation. And if they just want to do tasting for a price, they can just come in and go right to the tasting room and taste our wines. Or people may want a tour and tasting. We recommend that people reserve because we've been so popular, often we have a waiting list and people book way in advance, so we recommend that. However, if people drive up and we have openings, we'll take them. And then we do an hour tour with a barrel tasting along the way, and then they go to a private tasting room where they taste our wines just like they would in the regular tasting room. And incidentally, we never allow more than 12 people on the tours. We want it to be a real intimate experience, a learning experience. Or if people want a VIP tour and tasting, we pull out all the stops. Our chef makes some really lavish platter of food. We pour all our reserves, anything people want. We have one of management, it'll be myself or one of the vice presidents that takes the people around. They can do it basically anytime, night and day. We tailor it any way they want. I'm still a kid at heart. I wanted the castle to be authentic in every respect. You can't have a castle and do part of it and not the other parts. And we, of course, have a moat. We have a drawbridge. We have 5 towers. We have guard houses. We have courtyards. We have covered loggias. We have a church. We have a chapel in the vineyard. We have stables. We have outdoor oven, not for pizza. Pizza was made in southern Italy. There was no pizza until 1970s in northern Italy. The outdoor ovens, of course, are for making bread. We have a kitchen. They always had a big kitchen. We have an apartment for the royals. We have an escape tunnel. They always had a way out if you're cornered, and you spend years digging that tunnel because often they torture you before they kill you. So you always had a secret way out. We have a prison. We have a torture chamber. I have an Iron Maiden, also called the Virgin of Nuremberg. It was called that because the original Iron Maiden came from the castle of Nuremberg in Germany. And like a lot of things in the Middle Ages, like clothing, torture instruments became trendy too. Hey, that's a good one. That's really effective. We want one for our castle. If I were to sum it up in just one word, what Castello di Amorosa is all about, it's all about quality. It's about a way of life I've experienced living part-time in Italy, about a way of life that we don't have anymore in the United States. It's about going back in time to experience the simple things, the simple pleasures, the things that we've forgotten, that we go so fast in this country. And I want to bring that to other people. I want to bring quality wines. When people leave Castello di Amorosa, I want them to think, geez, this was great. I got more than my money's worth. I didn't expect it, the wines to be so good, the experience to be so good. That's what we're all about quality and about a way of life that we don't have anymore in this country. And to bring a slice of Italy, especially a slice of the Italy of a bygone era, to the Napa Valley and to American people.